Welcome to this tutorial on implementing API versioning in ASP.NET Core using the OpenWeather API that we have been implementing in our previous lectures. In this video, we'll guide you through the process step by step. To implement API versioning, we'll need to install the Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC.versioning package. And to do that, we'll go to Solution Explorer, select our project, right-click, and choose Manage NuGet Packages. Here, under Browse, you need to paste or type the package name. It will search it, and here, once it's appearing, you can click on Install, click Accept, and once you have done installing the package, close the NuGet Package Manager and head over to program.cs file. Now here, we will be adding this configuration using builder.services.add-API versioning, and the options that we can provide over here are default API version, major version 1, minor version 0, and then we have assumed default version when unspecified. So if you're creating a method where you have not specified any version, in that case, the default API version will take place. And here we have report API versions. So it gets or sets a value indicating whether request report the service API version compatibility information and responses. Now, when this property is set to true, the HTTP headers, API supported versions and API deprecated versions will be added to all valid service routes. This information is useful for advertising which versions are supported as scheduled for deprecation to clients. This information is also useful when supporting the options tab. So here we have set it to true, and once we have configured this, head over to our controller method. So we'll be going back to our weather controller, and here we will be updating two things, the route and the API version. So here you can see what we have done is we have updated that this method has this API version, and then the route is API/v and then API version number, and then we are saying weather. So that way we have introduced versioning in our method. So if I have to test this out, I'll simply go ahead and execute this, and here you can see it says API/v version/weather/city. Now if I have to try it out, I can go ahead and click on try it out, enter name of the city and then version over here. So let's say minor and major versions. So let's say major and minor versions, and click on execute. So when we do that, you can see the responses coming up over here, the temperature, feels like, and everything else. So that's one version. Now let's go ahead and add another version as well. So what we need to do is let's close this over here, and this time let's have another controller. So here we'll add a new controller. Select and give it a name. We'll call it as weather version 2 controller, let's say. And for now, I'll be just copying this piece of code and I'll be pasting it over here. And I'll also update the class name over here and the version number to 2.0 and the controller over here to this. And the weather data that is being returned, what we can do is we can have some additional data points. So remember, we have our model class over here, weather response. We'll go inside this, and under the weather response, we will just add a new attribute called city. And once we are done with that, we'll be going back to our version controller 2, and here let's add weather data.city equals city and save it. Now let's go ahead and test this one out. And now when we run this, we get this error, failed to load API definition. Now why this is coming up? This is because Swagger have difficulty loading when two controllers have the same route definition. This issue occurs because Swagger relies on the route definitions to generate its documentation and UI, and having conflicting route definitions can lead to ambiguity. So if you see over here in our case, we have two controllers now, but the route for each one of them is exactly the same. So how we can resolve this? To do that, all we need to do is choose a controller. For example, I have chosen weather controller over here, and here all you need to do is specify API Explorer settings group name equals weather controller. So now when the documentation and UI will be generated for this, it will be considering weather controller get weather method and the error will be resolved. So let's rerun this now. And here we are. We have the API up and running now. What we can do is click on try it out. And this time let's select Mumbai and enter the version. So major.minor. So here we are saying city and version 2.0. Now, if I open a weather version 2 controller and I have a breakpoint over here, ideally this should be called, not the one that we have defined in weather controller. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Here I'll be clicking on execute, and as you can see, it's calling weather v2 controller, and here we have the additional attribute like city that we have added to our weather data. Let's run this and see the response. So if I scroll all the way down, here you can see the city is coming up as Mumbai. That's what we passed using our API. And that's it. You have successfully implemented API versioning in your ASP.NET Core 6 Web API project. This allows you to manage different versions of your API effectively, ensuring a smooth experience for both existing and new clients. Thank you for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to leave a comment below.